There. Welcome back to the Big Thinker universe. Today I'm going to share something that maybe seems a little obvious, but one of my little things, my observations, and I do see things that most people miss because I'm staring at the bizarreness of the universe and I'm asking, why not instead of why? But one of the big things I've observed is that people are terrified of using artificial intelligence because they're afraid of the fear that they'll get garbage or they'll get nonsense and they won't know it. Um, I'm going to teach you something today, and this is one of my favorite uses. So I'm going to show you a little trick, and this is how to use AI to simplify your life. Now, for the record, it's a large language model. We're talking about ChatGPT as always. You can apply this to your other favorites if you've got others. People ask me all the time, what about Gemini? What about Copilot? Blah, blah, blah. I don't care. And the reason I don't care is the right tool is the one that works for you. So I'm not here to tell you what tool is the best. I'm here to tell you this is how I use ChatGPT. And one of the things I can give you some time back in your life, I learned to say no to new things. Now, that doesn't mean I'm set in my ways. It's just unless I have a compelling reason, I use one tool until I find a better reason to switch to something else. So I'm going to show you today how I use ChatGPT to help me think better. Now, the framework I use, I think we've shared this before. If not, we will share it again. I follow a framework called Eliminate, Automate, Delegate. And I would credit this. My first exposure to these words is from the 4 Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And don't laugh, but once upon a time, I read that book religiously once a year. Every time I went on vacation, I'd come home with new ideas, and I never once considered it a book on the Pareto principle. In hindsight, now I realize that Tim Ferriss is an expert on the Pareto principle, but at the time, I just thought he had some great ideas. So Tim's actual framework that he uses, his goal was, and I can't remember when this book was written, but it was a while ago, to help liberate people from the office. So he used a different order. He had, I think, either lead or deal. So he had liberate, eliminate, automate, delegate, or he had deal, which was delegate, eliminate, automate, liberate. I work with entrepreneurs. So again, I'm always going to go in my order, which is eliminate, automate, and delegate. And this is a Pareto principle. Okay, so here's how I use it. I share this because I find a lot of people are busy for the sake of busy. And I'm going to be honest, we live in a society where we wear busy like a badge of honor. And I'm going to tell you something that I figured out for me personally. And what I realized was that being busy for the sake of busy was lazy. Now, laugh at this for a minute, but I used to work 100 hours a week because I didn't bother to stop and ask myself what mattered. So, my old work style was if there's 100 hours a week where I can work, I should. Well, now I look at it and I have a parameter where I set my daily objectives. I have at most 5 things that I must accomplish in a given day. And if I'm finished those, then I force myself to either partake in a hobby or take the day off. Now, the reality is, I'm trying to break some workaholic habits. I can tell you with certainty how many 100-hour weeks I can work in a row before I fall over and have major health issues. About 18 months is the answer. Not that you want to ever know that. But basically, what I found was that I just said yes to everything and I did as much as I could. Now I'm working on learning to set some boundaries. I'm working on being effective, not efficient. And this is where I believe ChatGPT can be very helpful. Now, earlier I mentioned that people are worried about getting garbage inputs. If you use it the way I use it, you're providing the inputs and you're asking AI to connect some dots and find things that can help you. So, as an example, I'm going to show you how I apply eliminate, automate, and delegate. And what this does is yesterday I showed you the heaven or hell exercise. Today you can take the results of that heaven or hell and you can put it into ChatGPT and you can ask ChatGPT how to determine what you can eliminate, how to determine what you can automate, and how to determine what you can delegate. And more importantly, so you're determining what to eliminate, what to automate, what to delegate. It will also teach you how to do it. So in this case, I'm going to share a hypothetical work week. This is not my life anymore, but this is a reminder of what my typical work week used to look like. And basically, you'll see that AI, ChatGPT, can help us, first of all, create a framework and then apply it. So in this case, I just shared, here's my framework. Now, normally I prepare these prompts in advance and I can copy and paste, but I want you to hear me thinking it through because I feel a lot of people, they sit at a keyboard and they're like, oh my God, what do I do? Use ChatGPT like you would a colleague that's a sounding board. So I would normally, if I'm talking to one of my friends, colleagues, I would say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? And then we go back and forth. So in this case, it likes my framework and it does see the connection with Pareto. And here's the magic. Now that I've learned more and I studied Pareto and I'm obsessed with it, I'm seeing it everywhere. So some of my favorite books on the Pareto principle, in hindsight, the 4-Hour Work Week, it makes sense, but I'm very literal. So I was focused on the 4 hours, not the 80-20. But the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss is one of the first books I ever read on Pareto. And obviously missed the point, but now I get it. Perry Marshall's 80-20 Marketing and Sales is another good book. Perry Marshall and I believe Robert Scrobb co-wrote a book called Detox, Declutter, Dominate. So those are some great resources. And what I love about ChatGPT is it's really good at patterns, so it can help us identify the 20% that matters. And if you're not familiar with Pareto, ask ChatGPT to tell you a little bit about Pareto. But depending on how you look at it, there's two ways to word it. The short version is that 20% of your effort generates 80% of your results. Now, when I first heard that, I was like, yeah, that's nice. It's an economic principle. Who cares? But what I realized is that if you go deeper and deeper, if you go in about 3 layers, 1% of your effort generates 50% of your results. Now, a lot of people take offense to that and they say, well, I'm not just going to get 50% of the result. I want 100%. The difference is if you know the 1% that gets you 50% of your results, you can make progress, you can build momentum quickly, and then you can decide what is left to do. So in my opinion, when you're building a product, building a service, building a business, the 1% that gets you 50% of your result is what I would consider the minimum viable product, the MVP. Most people, unfortunately, they go for an MVP that generates 50% of the results by doing 99% of the effort. What that means is a lot of businesses struggle, a lot of entrepreneurs are burning out. So ask yourself, what is the 1% that truly matters? And if you're not confident having that conversation with yourself, because honestly, if you could have it, you would have, ask GPT. And by the way, I think it's John Maxwell wrote a book called The 1% Solution or something like that. He's looking at it from the perspective of what's the 1% that matters the most. And whether you believe everything I say about Pareto or you're just dipping your toes in, I hope you see that 1% and knowing that 1% can have a big impact. And by the way, if you don't believe me, test it and find out. So I'm going to put in a hypothetical work week and we're going to see what ChatGPT says. Now, actually, I'm going to let ChatGPT tell me what a hypothetical work week looks like for an entrepreneur. And then we're going to apply, eliminate, automate, and delegate. So this is my gift to you. If you've not had these conversations with ChatGPT, I don't care about what other uses you might have. This for me helped me simplify my life. So I work with a lot of busy entrepreneurs. They are busy because they don't know what does a. Okay. So technically, I am in a startup stage. So this is what a typical work week might look like. And I want to point out, I had an aha moment. Email, I have a OCD, and for me, inbox zero is a must. If I don't have inbox zero, I go crazy and I stress about it and I lay awake at night worrying about it. So every day I get to inbox zero. And I also, if somebody asked for a meeting, once upon a time, I said yes. I'd show up and let the universe tell me what it is, why it is, etc. So my two biggest time wasters are email and meetings for the sake of meetings. And if you can't relate, this is my story. So here's how it worked for me. What I realized was that once I received an email, it was up to my brain to process it and deal with it. Now, I was subscribed to a bunch of things. I had a lot of newsletters, a lot of I'll read later, which never came. So, one of the biggest things I did was I eliminated emails. Once it came into my inbox, my brain would grab it and would want to deal with it. If I kept it out of my inbox, then I was fine. So what I did was I unsubscribed to a lot of the things. I started declining meetings. I no longer hold meetings unless we have a clear agenda and a reason. I have open office hours so people can meet me without coming into scheduling a time. And basically, if you think about it, as an entrepreneur, we spend a lot of time putting out fires. This does to me look like a very typical week. So as GPT says, we're likely juggling 50 plus hours a week. We're often reactive, not strategic. Okay, so can we create, help me identify what I can eliminate. And by the way, eliminate and automate are amazing with ChatGPT. It knows better than me what's possible. Um, so as you can see here, I will share this. People can copy it, but basically, it's giving me a process on what to eliminate and then how to eliminate, automate, delegate. So if you're burning out, you're stressed out, you're working harder and longer days, and you're getting less done, take the time and ask GPT, here's my typical week. Here's the things I hate doing. Here's the things I love doing. Of these, what can I eliminate? What can I automate? What can I delegate? I know that feels a little repetitive, but as Tim Ferriss says, that's how you liberate. If you want to be a successful founder who builds a company that can grow and scale without you, you need to get better at managing your time. And by the way, in Chet Holmes's book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, the first chapter is time management secrets of billionaires. They know these secrets. So I hope that was useful. I'd love your comments below.